PRT 3. After her dad, who was a secret trillionaire, died, husband divorced pregnant wife to marry mistress. The first sign that her life would never be the same again wasn't the death certificate, the cold marble gravestone, or the sudden silence of a house once filled with laughter. It was the moment Elena stood in the courtroom, heavily pregnant, hands trembling over her belly, while her husband, the man she once trusted more than herself, signed the divorce papers with a smile meant for another woman. A woman standing right behind him, wearing an expensive diamond bracelet that used to be hers. Her heart didn't just break, it shattered into dust too fine to ever piece back together. If you believe kindness and second chances should always win, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It means everything. Elena never wanted a life of luxury or titles. Her father had been a simple man in her eyes, a cafe owner, an immigrant dreamer with a warm smile and calloused hands. Only after his sudden death did she learn he had secretly owned half the skyline of New York, skyscrapers and global investments hidden behind layers of companies. He never revealed his fortune because he wanted his daughter to learn empathy before wealth. But he ran out of time, and as the lawyers unfolded thick stacks of documents detailing a trillion-dollar empire, Elena sat there numb, clutching her father's old coffee mug as if it were the only real thing left. Her husband, Adam, who once pledged endless love, changed overnight. Greed rewired his soul when he learned he'd receive none of the inheritance since everything was transferred solely to Elena's unborn child. He grew colder than winter steel. He stopped touching her, stopped seeing her, stopped loving her. Instead, he started showing up late, smelling like perfume she didn't own, laughing at jokes she wasn't there to hear. His betrayal wasn't sudden. It was a slow poison, drop by drop, until she barely recognized the man she had married. The day he left was the day her world collapsed completely. Standing at the top of the mansion staircase, belly swollen with life, she heard him tell her that he had found someone who understood him, someone who wasn't emotionally draining or fragile. Those words stabbed deeper than cuts ever could. Elena didn't scream or beg. She simply let him walk away with the pieces of her dignity still dripping from his shoes. The first few months alone were a war she fought silently. Nights were long, sleepless, and filled with tears that soaked her pillow until dawn. She felt like the walls themselves were grieving with her, cold, empty, echoing old memories that made breathing painful. Even with all the wealth surrounding her, she was stripped of peace. Loneliness haunted every corner. And yet, inside her body, a heartbeat kept her alive, her daughter, her hope. Every kick reminded her she wasn't completely broken. She wasn't abandoned. She wasn't unloved. One rainy night, overcome with cramps and exhaustion, she collapsed in the hallway. She woke in a hospital bed, a nurse holding her hand gently, telling her she wasn't alone anymore. Hours later, she heard the cry of a newborn, deep, strong, and so full of life that every wound inside her healed just a little. She named her daughter Elena, after her father's favorite flower. In that very moment, Elena promised that no matter how cruel the world became, her daughter would never feel unloved. Motherhood didn't magically erase the pain, but it gave her courage. She stopped hiding in her mansion and started rebuilding herself piece by piece. She showed up at boardrooms where sharks smelled vulnerability, yet she walked in with calm fire in her eyes, holding her baby in her arms like a badge of survival. She learned to run companies she never even knew existed, learning from her father's trusted advisors, surprising them with her natural brilliance. Every failure taught her, every setback reshaped her. Every success reminded her she was her father's daughter. Resilient, strategic, unbreakable years past, Elena transformed from a heartbroken woman into a force the world whispered about. Newspapers printed her name, calling her the hidden heiress who rose from betrayal. Charity events saw her elegant presence, her story inspiring countless women who had been left behind. She invested millions into shelters for single mothers, education for orphans, and hospitals in struggling communities. She became what her father always hoped she'd be, a lighthouse for others lost at sea. Meanwhile, Adam's new life was beginning to rot. The mistress he married, Jessica, loved the money, not the man. When Adam's expected access to wealth never came, arguments replaced affection. Luxury cars were repossessed, credit cards cut, and his once flawless charm crumbled under the reality of debts he couldn't repay. Jessica disappeared, taking with her the last pieces of his pride. Alone, jobless, and drowning in regret, Adam became a ghost in his own story, living in a rundown apartment, watching Elena's success unfold on television screens in grimy bars. The biggest blow, however, came when he saw Elena standing on the stage of a grand charity gala, a vision of grace in an emerald gown, her daughter holding her hand proudly. Cameras flashed, and the applause was thunderous. Elena didn't just survive, she became more than he ever believed she would. Yet she didn't do it to prove anything to him. She did it for the little girl beside her, the one who deserved the best version of her mother. As time went by, Adam's shame grew unbearable. One cold evening, unable to quiet his conscience any longer, he made his way to the towering headquarters of the empire he once claimed would be partly his. His clothes were worn, his face unshaven, snowflakes melting into the deep lines of defeat. The guards hesitated to let him in, but Elena eventually agreed to meet him, not out of sentiment, but closure. Standing across from her in a polished office overlooking the city his greed once coveted, Adam felt smaller than he ever imagined possible. She was composed, a queen on her throne. He trembled, staring at the woman he had destroyed, who had risen higher than he could ever reach. He muttered apologies, drowning in guilt. He spoke about loneliness, regret, and a longing for the family he threw away. His voice cracked when he whispered Elena's name, the child he never met. Elena listened silently, her heart steady. She had forgiven herself long ago. Now it was time to forgive him too, not for his sake, but for her peace. She didn't offer a second chance at love. She didn't offer money or a return to her life. But she offered one thing: the right to be a father, under conditions built to protect her daughter. Therapy, steady employment, sobriety. He was allowed to be part of Elena's life, slowly, cautiously, with boundaries strong as steel. It wasn't for him. It was for the little girl who deserved to know her history, and for Elena, who refused to let bitterness raise her child. And so, something extraordinary began. Not romance, not reconciliation, but healing. Adam showed up, every weekend, every holiday, reading stories, learning patience, and becoming a better man than the one he used to be. Elena remained strong, focused, independent, never giving away what she rebuilt, but allowing humanity to find space in her heart again. Years later, as Elena stood ready to start her first day of school, holding both her mother's and father's hands, Elena realized that her greatest triumph wasn't the empire, nor the fame, nor the headlines. It was this moment. She had turned her deepest pain into purpose. She had shown her daughter that forgiveness could be powerful, not a sign of weakness, but the strongest thing a human heart could offer. And she had proven something else. You can rise from ashes more beautiful than the flame that burned you. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling stories of hope and strength. Before you go, what part of Elena's journey inspired you the most? Comment below. We love hearing from you. Would you like part 4 to follow Elena's future and how she grows up learning the value of compassion over wealth?